Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Sagittarius for January 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com. Definitely check out my live readings where I can give you personal insights for this year and beyond for you and all kinds of other things that we cover in a session. If you love the way I teach and you'd like to learn astrology, then definitely check out my Astrology Apprenticeship program, which depending on when you're listening to this could be enrolling right now. So you can check all of that out at anniehelpsyou.com. So what's going on in the month of January in the new year of 2019? We've got lots of changes from eclipses, and this new year will definitely feel like a new year. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a new year because we are in the midst of a retrograde or different transits are happening that make things feel slow, but not this year. This year we are done with all the personal planet retrogrades and their shadow periods. We'll have all of the planets moving direct early in January. That will span into February 18th. So we've got this huge stretch of forward momentum, plus the eclipse is bringing massive changes, sometimes sudden changes, sometimes they're expected things that come to fruition. We definitely have even more energy of clean slate because the first 3 moons of the month are supermoons and they all are super powerful. Of course, one of them is an eclipse as well. And also they're at the earliest degree of their sign, which indicates new beginnings. So we have a succession of new beginning energy after this very retrograde focused 2018 that we're stepping out of. So I have lots of tidbits to talk about for Sagittarius, and since the visuals have worked so well, everybody has given me great feedback about that, I'm going to transition to showing you the actual charts that I'm using to do the readings. I'll show you the early, middle, and late degree placements. I'll help you determine where you are in that spectrum. And I'll show you what's going on for Sagittarius for this month and beyond. We still have Jupiter blazing through our sign. I'm a Sag too. And hopefully lots of goodies came in for birthdays or for you, your rising, your moon when the sun crossed over those sections of your chart. So let's look at this new month and this new year from the visuals of the charts. Hello, Sagittarius friends. So first we have to figure out, are you an early, middle, or late degree placement? This makes a difference because, because there's a spectrum from 0 through 29 degrees, so 30 degrees in total, that comprises the Sag placements. And whether you are early, middle, or late is going to shift some aspects of the chart here. That's one of the things I love most about giving you the visual. I am an astrology teacher, and that is where my major passion lies, in not just telling you what's going to happen, but why. Or what could happen, but why. So if you are an early degree placement, then you are the November born Saggies. This is estimating. This could stagger a little by a day or two or a degree or two, but just to make it easy, early, you're November born. Then the middle degree Saggies, you're like, we'll say the first 10 days or so of the sign. Okay, wait, back to early. So then if you're watching for your rising, your moon, or your sun degree, early is 0 through 9 degrees. Middle is December 1st through 10th around, or 10 through 19 degrees. And late degree placements, this is where I am with you all in the late degrees. December 11th or so for the rest of the sign, or 20 to 29 degrees. Sometimes there's not as much of a huge difference between the early and middle degree charts, but there is generally quite a difference in the late degree chart. And I've understood that about my chart because like I said, I'm a late degree placement. So if we don't include this, there's definitely going to be some inaccuracies for late degrees. So that's why we have to make sure that we have everybody covered. Okay, so let's look at the early and middle degree charts to talk about some things happening here, and then we'll shift into the late degree because there are a lot of similarities between the early and middle. And actually, before I go into that, I want to talk about some things for all of y'all. All right, so, or all of us, because I'm a Sag too. All right, so in general, Sag energy has had like a whooping celebratory expansion party with all of these planets having been in Sagittarius. But now that the planets are starting to move into Capricorn, it's time to start grounding again, okay? So some commitments that we may have made over previous months, things that we have started with great excitement and enthusiasm, we may now have to be doing the hard work and consistent follow through to bring those things in. You know, Jupiter in Sag and the other placements in Sag can get us very ungrounded and distracted. And so at the time of the year, like the end of the year, it's really important to really ground. And once we get into January, we're like, okay, we get back down to business. So you can see for the early and middle degree placements, there's loaded second house. Okay, this sun is also going to be moving in there. It doesn't look like it's there, but it will be. Right, really from the beginning. So the second house has to do with finances, you know, money, things like that. And so there's a big focus there. Could be focusing on making more money, could be budgeting, could be doing taxes, which I love Capricorn energy for that. Having focus, could be good news, could be things materializing that we've been working on. And for you late degree placements, you see how this cluster is in the first house, it's not in the second house. And really this, and this, they're outer planets. So those are still going to be in the first house for a long time. This sun, after a few weeks, will start to move into the second house. So the financial focus and the money things that are going to be like right in the faces of the early and middle degree placements, you'll have that be staggered a little bit in focus for you. So lots of money stuff, lots of grounding stuff, lots of, in some cases, like, I don't want to say wake-up calls because that sounds bad, but, you know, in some cases there will be like actual sobering wake-up calls and reality checks, which is kind of a theme for the month for everybody with the energies in Capricorn. But it's just kind of like okay, now we have to do the work for the things, the opportunities that have come in. And so it's just, you know, kind of different than how energy moves through Sag is. You know, we like that creation phase, that expansion phase, but sometimes when it comes back to the follow through, you know, we can get a little bored. So January is just kind of that time that brings us down a little bit, but it can also bring in some major manifestation for us. So that's exciting. Okay, for the early and middle degree placements, you can see this fourth house is also strongly accentuated. Again, these are longer term movements. So the home and family in the long term is very accentuated, especially for early and middle degree placements. But for the late degree placements, this energy is in the third house, which has to do with editing, writing, communicating, you know, traveling around, mobility, going places, doing things. But starting very soon in January, the shorter term part of this grouping is going to move into the fourth house for us too. Okay, so fourth house, home, family, home improvements, questions about home. Some people get restless and want to move. January is actually a really excellent time for making commitments for moving, and the eclipses may bring opportunities as well. Okay, so that's just an overview. One other thing I want to point out for the late degree placements is notice how there still is a very strong focus on the first house for Sag late degree placements. And that has to do with your physical body. You can see there's still, you know, I mean, there's energy there for all early, middle, and late, just for different reasons. But as this second house is empty, you know, we still have some extra focus in the first house before the money stuff gets right in our faces. You know, it's like the self-esteem, the physical body, the focusing on our health, the, you know, making sure that we have a good foundation in our physical being for financial and other expansion. It can also have to do with image and redefining self. You know, there's a big story for early, middle, and late degree placements for different reasons. For late degree, Saturn is a big player here, middle also, and then for the middle and early, Jupiter expansion in the first house. So lots of energy for Sagittarius around who we are, what we're doing different, changing our image. And that can be like hair and makeup and clothes, but also like what we call ourselves, the work we do, the division of work, etc. If you've been waiting to do things to your body or get clothes or things like that, January is awesome for that. If you're inclined to do such things, there's some dates to look out for and some dates I love. So definitely stay tuned after this for the general transits to hear about the dates I love for taking action on important things. But the last thing I want to talk about is the lunar eclipse at almost 1 degree of Leo. So the first thing to know, again, about these eclipses is that 2017 through early 2019 January, we've had a Leo Aquarius eclipse cycle. So this almost 1 degree of Leo eclipse that's occurring on January 21st, or the days around that, depending on your time zone, is this major coming to fruition, coming to completion of, for all signs, it could be something involving children, milestones with children. It could be creative projects, so major milestones with creative projects. For some people, it will have to do with addictions. For others, it will have to do with romance, true love, hobbies, fun, having fun just for the sake of it. The last time we had this eclipse cycle was between 2008 and 2009. So if you think back to what was happening in those times, you may have seen some parallels in these years. But whatever it is, we're kind of closing that off now and moving into different areas of focus, as I talked about in the December report with the Capricorn Cancer eclipse cycles that have been really now moving into focus. So if you didn't listen to my December report, definitely do that, because the eclipse on January 5th is going to be in the Cancer Capricorn polarity, and I talk about where that's going to hit for each of you in that one. But let's look to see where 1 degree of Leo is going to be for everybody, all the Saggies. Okay, so we got the early chart. 1 degree of Leo is about there, so the 8th house for early. Okay, it's going to be a little bit earlier in the 8th house for middle. And then still going to be in the 8th house for late. Okay, so early, middle, and late degree placements, you have all the same house being accentuated this time. It doesn't always work that way. A lot of times, especially for the late people and sometimes even middle, the eclipses will hit actually in very clearly different houses. But for this last cycle, fullness, completion, fruition coming in the energy of the 8th house. So what could this mean? For some people, it will have something to do with a deep romantic, intimate relationship or intimacy in general. Or it could have to do with like a business relationship, kind of a chapter closing or something getting locked in with business. It could be family associations or something with spouse, the ending of a relationship, the next chapter of a relationship, either business or romantic or anything important, the closing of a company, the moving forward with a company, the changing directions with a company. It also has to do with financing. This is a big financing house. So something like paying off a loan, accessing a loan, getting money you need, paying off debt. And for some lucky Saggies, it's going to be winning money. Yes, sometimes eclipses in the 8th house actually mean a lot of money coming to you. Sometimes it's through inheritance. Sometimes it's through winning the lotto or sweepstakes, or somebody just giving you money, venture capital, or someone investing in your dream or loaning you money that you need. So if you're feeling lucky, definitely don't spend an unreasonable amount of money and put yourself in a bad situation. But, 8th house manifestations are definitely times to buy lotto tickets and do things like that. And even things like, there are things you can look up online. Make sure you're using a reputable site, but where you have money that's coming to you, where a company couldn't find you and you were owed some money, and they, like an old utility bill or something that you paid a deposit or, different things. So finding money through ways like that can also happen from this type of eclipse. This can also be major spiritual breakthroughs. So like all of a sudden awareness coming in like some area, from a spiritual or psychological breakthrough. And sometimes it can be a crisis that leads to a breakthrough, like something heavy weighing on your mind or like breaking through a habit. There's been this ongoing theme for all humanity about setting healthy boundaries, but Saggies have a special extra level of this because, in general, it's hard for Saggies to say no. And we just say, yep, bring it on. Yep, bring it on. And then afterwards we realize, oh gosh, we overcommitted, right? So there could be something with this 8th house manifestation for early, middle, or late degree placements that has to do with when to say when to, choose self over others, and how to delegate. This is a very important lesson for Sagittarius who think they can do it all, and in many cases can, and take too much on. So this eclipse cycle can be about learning this process of delegation and having help. So you could see it manifest that way. Okay, so now I want to talk about the dates that I love, 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 love this month, the ones that are a little sketchy that you have to look out for. My favorite days for launches, making important decisions, also the general tone of the month, certain things to be aware of for general transit. So I'm going to transition into the charts for the general transits now. Okay, so now let's talk about the general transits. There are lots of important dates to note, and I'm going to go into the specifics of those now. The theme of the month for all signs is radical new chapters and wide open stars. As I mentioned before, this is truly the energy of a new year. It can be a very clean slate. We've had a year of retrogrades, pretty much focusing on the personal planets retrograde, and this is like a really huge clean slate time. So lots of old patterns, lots of old programming, lots of old ways of being, brilliant new chapters opening. There are so many reasons why there's so much newness. So not only are we free finally from the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods, as of January 6th, we also have all of the planets, including the outer planets, going direct. So this is a very rare occurrence, and these wide open stars will last until February 18th. So it is important to note, however, that even though we have all this energy from momentum and moving forward, we do actually have quite a few astrological clashes this month. So as far as trying to do important things or move forward, there are definitely going to be clashes and impediments, but still the general energy is just very open, and many things that we've been working on can really manifest at this time in a really huge way. So we talked at length about the eclipses. Besides the fact that the eclipses are happening, bringing in new chapters, ending old chapters, and then also besides the fact that the planets, will be all going direct, also the first 3 full moons of 2019 are all supermoons, and they occur at the first degree of their respective sign, which brings even more energy of a clean slate and the instigation of many new experiences and ways of being, opportunities, trajectory changes, and other new beginnings that we have really sought after, or some that arise as a surprise. I often get the question, what is a supermoon? So the supermoon is when the moon is at its closest possible point to, or very, notably close. You ever notice those moons where you're like, gosh, the moon looks really big. Like, whoa. Like that. Then that often is because the moon is actually closer to us. That's why it looks bigger. So when this coincides with the full moon, then it's called a supermoon. Okay, so supermoons definitely carry some similar energy to the eclipses in the way that there's more power behind the full moon. So more things coming to fruition and then opening, opening up. Basically things coming to a major climax and new things beginning. So powerful endings, powerful beginnings are definitely a theme that we're having from the eclipses and the supermoons. So I'm going to go into details about transits that I want you to be very aware of. And do note that if you want a written version of the general transit report a month early delivered to your inbox, then go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll get this this information in writing and more. So I list all the transits that are most noteworthy, along with some information about what you can expect. So I won't go through all of them in this video, but if you sign up for my free email newsletter, then you'll be able to see access to them. And a lot of people really like that for planning because you can see when the dicey transits are, like right there written in front of you, not just hearing it on the audio. Also, if you are planning travel, check out my monthly travel astrology reports on my site, astrologykisstravelbliss.com. And if you like written horoscopes from me, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. Okay, so those all will give you tons more information about the transits, how you can best use the energies. So, like I mentioned before, there are quite a few clashes this month, and there's some energy that I would call very sobering. And this is typical of this time of year when aspects get together in the sign of Capricorn. It's kind of very, it's very realist. It's like kind of sometimes time to pay the piper, after the Sag transits of just kind of freedom loving. Now this is the time to get organized, get your taxes together, figure out the financial aftermath from the holidays, So it can come with some sobering or even challenging news, reality checks, but this energy is also fantastic for trying to drill long-term things in to your reality. So like on the 1st and the 2nd, we've got the Sun getting together with Saturn in this Capricorn. This Capricorn energy is the kind of, I don't want to make it mad, but we'll call it concerned energy, where you're like, okay, we really have to get down to business here. So that energy will last a few days, and then there's a square with Mercury. So on the 3rd, and then also again, we have, let's see, on the 8th, and then again on the 23rd. So January 3rd, January 8th, and January 23rd, we have squares with Mercury. So expect on those days possible impediments to movements, some, minor speed bumps, challenges with communication. Could feel like a mini Mercury retrograde. So whenever Mercury gets together in the form of a square, it can cause those challenges. So it's going to, Mercury still in Sag is going to come and square, let's see, Chiron. Then it's going to come and square Mars. Then it's going to come and square Uranus over the month. Okay, so particularly that one on the 8th and then the one on the 23rd. So 1, 8, 1, 23. Be extra careful with your physical body and with driving. And, these are the kind of transits that I say, really look out as you're texting. I'm hoping that everyone would just stop texting while they're driving or riding a bike or walking in busy areas. But since I know that's not going to happen, I at least can give you the warning that in the days around those days, there are more chances for accidents, verbal communication accidents, and also physical body and vehicle, and with your devices, like dropping in the toilet, things that would impede your communication through something happening to the device. So just be really careful around those days, extra so. And always remember that I give you the dates of the transits, but the days that we can experience the transits are often before or after the actual transit, because all of the transits have these orbs of energy. So something happens on this day, sometimes we feel that over here or on the day or some point after, because the range of influence of a transit has an orb, and the orb is dependent upon the planets involved. So, from a day to 4 or 5 days if we're talking about things with the personal planets, before or after. Okay. That's why I say don't hang your hat too heavily on an exact date. You have to more tune in to the feeling. If there's going to be a sweet aspect, and there are going to be quite a few, which I'm going to have you note here, then if you're feeling the vibes in the days before, you don't have to wait till the exact day of the aspect. If you want to lock something in or do something important, then definitely follow your personal flow, how you're personally experiencing the transits. Okay, one more challenging date of note, and there are actually more than I'm listing, but again, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and see more about those details. But on January 13th, we have the first of 3 passes of Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at that here. So Jupiter is here. Neptune is here. Now, also a reminder, I know I've talked about this before, but I want to remind you, when we're talking about general transits, these are for everybody. I tack the general transits at the end of the individual reports. So the general transit that you hear for each sign will actually be the same for all signs. I do that for your convenience, so you just listen to it right after your sign-specific report. When we're talking about the general transits, these houses that these aspects are occurring in don't matter. Okay, we're just looking at the relationship between the planets and not the houses. To understand the houses, that's going to be different for each sign. So just kind of ignore, that's why I've scribbled this out over there. All right, so anytime outer planets get together, they're generally talking about a long-term theme. Okay, so this on January 13th is the first of 3 passes, with the second being on June 16th. And then the third and last being on September 21st. And these are all in 2019. Okay, so it's very well indicated to avoid being overly optimistic at this time, and definitely to avoid risk-taking behaviors that may have worked in the past. This is a time when the expansive nature of Jupiter, it just wants to go big, is kind of put into a challenging angle by this energy of disillusionment or confusion or uncertainty or chaos. And I always see these kind of aspects as nice checks and balances that we have from the universe, because we've been on this big expansion spree since Jupiter has gotten into Sagittarius. And we will continue this for most of 2019, where the energy, is in an expansion mode. Even when Jupiter is in retrograde, which isn't yet, but even during that time, there's this story of expansion is really strong, because Jupiter is in the sign that it rules, which it's very excessive in that place. So, in the weeks around the 13th, June 16th, June 21st, these hot spots will last weeks at a time. Just be really careful. It's not always the best time to take risks unless you're intuitively inclined, for sure. The odds are more in favor of disappointment now than triumph. I see a positive way to look at this transit, as it helps to show the limits of the expansion that is occurring, because we can't just keep expanding indefinitely in all areas without having a rest or having a check-in or checking sustainability for the things we've, expanded into. It's very helpful for us to have this okay, let's take a step back and evaluate and prepare for future expansion by seeing, if we can manage what we've already done. So we need to have form and structure. We need to have structure to be in form. And so the energy, being very upward moving, this is a time when we're kind of settling into the new norm and taking a break from the frenetic pace of increase. And actually doing that purposely can be a sweet way to avoid lessons from this. Okay, so now let's talk about the juicy stuff. All right, let's get this out of here. I want to talk about my favorite aspects of the month. There are quite a few nice aspects this month, but most of them are coupled with challenging aspects on the same days. So there's kind of this sweet and salty going on a lot of the month. But towards the end, put a gold star around the 22nd. Okay, on January 22nd, Venus, where are you, buddy? All right, so Venus is going to come and get together with Jupiter. So put a big star on the days around this. Now, there are some other aspects around those dates that could be manifesting that could have more challenge. But in general, Venus, ruling love and beauty and money and self-esteem, is going to get together with the great expander. So anytime we have a personal planet, especially Venus or Mercury or the Sun, getting together with Jupiter, it usually means really good news involving money or love, a sweet spot, something gelling, money coming in, just something really, really excellent. So I just love, love, love that day. Now, if you have to do something business-wise, launching something, oh my gosh, I really love this time. And if it happens to be in anything having to do with Sagittarius efforts, even better. So teaching, learning, speaking, publishing, writing, spiritual pursuits, church-related things, travel, long distance, different countries, different cultures, different languages. There's even more support around those kind of things coming in, news and other things. But you can definitely use it purposely to lock in some good energy. One of those squares I warned you about with Mercury is on the 23rd. So Mercury squaring Uranus. So just, that's going to be happening at the same time. So if things are weird that exact day, don't, just follow your intuition. But I definitely love the energies of this Venus aspect. Now, the two last sweet aspects that are my favorite this month, they're even better in some ways because they're not clouded by another challenging aspect that's kind of stealing some of their thunder. Okay, so let's get that out of there. So on the 25th, we're going to have Mars in Aries trining Jupiter in Sag. Gosh, this little pen is hard to write with. Okay, so Mars, there he is, and Jupiter are going to come together and be in our favorite trine configuration. Okay, and when that happens, that's the sweetest of all astrological aspects. So this is one of my favorite aspects of the month and even the year. Because trines with Jupiter are just awesome. So it's a great day for important things. If your intuition is in agreement and the synchronicities seem to line up, I love this for like launch dates, moving forward, making decisions, and it should be relatively clear from that other aspect that happened on the 23rd, or at least it's diluting. All right, so that's put a sweet spot, sweet gold star there. And then the last aspect is on the last day of the month that I love, love, love. You can see that the end of the month is kind of more clear in some ways from the general mischief of the month. Also, the eclipses will have happened, so some more clarity might be coming in about those directions. So on January 31st, we have a beautiful Saturn in Cap sextile Neptune in Pisces. Okay, where's our buddies there? Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so sextile is a 60-degree angle, beautiful aspect. And again, like our other aspect that we were talking about with Jupiter squaring Neptune, that's an outer planet challenging aspect. We talked about the implications of that. But this similarly will have 3 passes. Okay, so January 31st is the first pass. The second one is June 18th of 2019, and then the third is November 8th. All right, so on these days, this energy of material gains coming from spiritual focus and pursuits is very strongly brought into the picture. And again, it's like the weeks around this time. So it can also manifest as any beautiful blending of the lesser seen plus the more tangible realms. So this is like a nice bridge time when people who are doing work on the inner planes, doing work with the law of attraction, doing work with, on the levels that are hard to see. Like you could be working really hard and what we call normal people around you, right, who don't understand what you're doing, might say, everything looks the same in your life, and you say, oh, well, I'm really working, things are really shifting on the inside. These transits are times when things that you've done on the inner realm can really manifest in a big way. They're like really good affirmations and confirmations that you're on the right track and that inner work really does work. So I love ending off the month with that kind of awesomeness. And also if you have to plan something important, that is a super sweet aspect to lock in. When you're doing something important, the day you do it on is like a birthday in many cases, depending on what it is. And then that chart, whatever's going on that day, gets locked into the story of what you're doing. That's why doing things, on good dates can be very helpful to the long-term outcomes of what you're trying to do, because you lock in good energy and then that carries, that goes with it for the whole venture. So if you'd like to have a written version of this every month, a month early, go to anniehelpsyou.com. If you are already on my email newsletter list and you're not receiving my emails, I send them out religiously. So definitely check your spam, social, events folders. And if you find them there, move them into your inbox to give your email the, the alert like, hey, I want these in my general inbox, because I'm definitely sending them. So if you're not getting them, then contact my customer service team and definitely first look in those other inboxes. So I hope you love the added effects of the visuals, and definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about booking a private reading with me. I can tell you more about what's coming in the next year from the astrological perspective and all kinds of other things. Also, if you resonate with how I teach and you would love to learn with me, my astrology apprenticeship program is registering now. So definitely check out my website for details about my astrology apprenticeship program. Also, in the beginning of January, my coach certification and online business course will be registering. I have horoscopes and lifestyle blogs, including astrology for wellness blogs, at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And if you're a traveler, check out my astrology travel reports on my website, astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. If you're interested in tarot, you can check out my husband's site. Plus, he also has other information about astrology and some pretty cool offerings. You can check out his website, BR Newman, at iamhelios.com, IAMHELIOS.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.